Welcome to the Deeper Into Movies podcast. My name is Stephen T. Hanley. I'm the founder and lead curator of Deeper Into Movies. We're a pop-up cinema based in London and New York. Today in the podcast, I'm joined by the darkwave duo Boyhasha, aka Jay Matthews and Augustus Muller. We are here to discuss their new film and accompanying soundtrack, The Runner. It's a 30-minute short film which mixes a horror movie, live performance, music videos, and faux documentary, let's say. I've been a fan of their music for several years now. I was really excited to chat. Here is me and Boyhasha. Hey, how are you?
Pretty good.
Hi.
Hello. This is a really ominous picture to talk to you through.
Yeah, we would give you some video, but we've got sort of a unique recording setup. We're trying to like a USB mic right now, so it's not the best video for us.
Okay, I can talk to you through this weird avatar.
You want to? We'll just give you a sneak peek real quick.
Okay. Okay, I can visualize you guys better.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this off.
Okay. So I was just going through your really great Vice list that you sent us.
Yeah, that's a cool assignment.
Yeah, I love everything but the attacks on Manhunter. I won't stand for that.
Are you a Manhunter fan?
Oh, I'm a huge Manhunter fan. I think, yeah, probably the best serial killer ever in a movie. And I love the soundtrack. And yeah, just that classic Michael Mann vision where everything's just at dusk and blue. I really get behind.
I mean, to be fair, I am also a Manhunter fan, but there's just like some irredeemable Michael Mann tropes in it that I think had to point out.
Yeah, I kind of give him a pass because it's just Michael Mann universe where everything is still late 80s. Even when he's filming now, it still looks the same, which I kind of love.
The style is impeccable for sure. I mean, just the walking through the murder scene and talking on his tape. I love that tableau so much. All the blood in my modern bedroom.
Yeah, I love all the interiors. And I think Hannibal Lecter's cell was like an art gallery or a museum that he reconverted to be the holding cell, which is really cool.
Well, that was my one thing is like Silence of the Lambs is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
And just comparing the Hannibal Lecter introduction scene between that and Manhunter is just like crazy. Just like I feel like it's so much more successful in Silence of the Lambs compared to Manhunter.
Well, I think Brian Cox said he plays Hannibal insane and Anthony Hopkins plays it crazy. Was his, but I think Brian Cox is kind of more low key but more creepy when he's like just casually asking him for his home phone number and things like that.
No, I mean I love Brian Cox. It's just like it's just so bright and it just it feels like an art gallery. It's just like there's no vibe in it at all. It's like he's like in a waiting room.
I think the chemistry too between Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins is something I really appreciate. I think you miss that a little bit in Manhunter because they're both just like men with disturbed minds.
Yeah.
And Jodie's just this earnest angel who's thinking about lambs.
Also, I really like that reuse of the Tangerine Dream solo music they use. I think it's in that classic date night where he takes her to go to see a anesthetized tiger. Do you remember that?
Yeah, what else is it in?
It's a solo Tangerine Dream track from Klaus from Tangerine Dream.
Yeah.
and it's from that movie Angst. I think it's like a German serial killer movie.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a real cool scene.
I actually haven't seen that. That's been on my list for a long time. I've been trying to find a copy of it, but it's pretty difficult.
Gus only watches things on VHSs he finds on eBay.
That's not true, but I'd like some movies I'd prefer to watch that way.
So if we go back, did you guys meet in film school?
Yeah, we were both living in Savannah. I was at undergrad at film school, and Jay was in her graduate program.
How was your film school experience? It's something that comes up a lot on the podcast with people we talk to.
I mean, I've got a lot of resentment just because I'm so much in debt. I feel like Jay feels a similar way. And I feel like this school we went to is such just like a corporation.
I had the unique opportunity to go to both a state school because my undergrad education was at this school called SUNY Purchase, which is a state college. And I went there for film. And then the graduate program, I went to a private art school. And there's just this wild difference between state education, right? Like my teachers were deeply invested in their students, and then going to the private art school, it just so clearly is it's the monetary investment, right? Like the teachers don't really care, and you're just kind of paying into the system.
What kind of movies were you making? Were you both like directing stuff?
By the time I got to Savannah, I was focusing more on producing and writing. And at the time, I think I was really into realism. And so I was like writing a bunch of pieces about, I don't know, I was heavily influenced by David Gordon Green, like his early stuff. And when I was much younger, I loved Harmony Korine, right? But then I think I slowly started realizing that movies are really more fun if you're investing in the ride. You know, like we get to watch films because you're experiencing something else. You're experiencing fear. You're entering into really weird worlds. So then I was really moving into things that were a little more scary and bizarre. Heavily inspired, David Lynch.
And were you guys making music as well at this time? Or did that come later?
That came a little bit later. So I was always making music to the films I was working on, and that's something I always wanted to do. And sort of at the end of our time in Savannah, that's when we started the band. And that kind of went way better than making movies for us. So we just kind of moved over to that by accident.
Gus, what were you watching? What were your formative films?
In film school, I was like really into Michael Haneke. I was obsessed with that stuff. I was really into the long take. Any just like really long takes. But then I love Haneke stuff because of the violence in it. So I just like was obsessed with covering violence in like a really like matter of fact way like that.
How about The Seventh Continent? Did you like that one? I think that one's really slept on from the Haneke catalog.
I haven't seen that one. I was more into like the White Ribbon, like
Benny's Video.
Benny's Video classic.
I think if I watched that now, it would be bigger for me. But at the time, it was all like White Ribbon, and that like the post-apocalyptic one was really big for me too.
Oh, what was that one called? Wolf and something.
The Year of the Wolf.
Yes, I think that's it. The Seventh Continent is the one where a family just decide to destroy all their possessions and make a suicide pact. It's really clinical and intense with just like static shots of them. There's like a 45 minutes footage of them just smashing up their house and destroying every possession they own. Which was,
is that before or after Benny's Video?
Just before. But
well,
I think I saw it, one of those films I saw at university, and I think it's kind of always out of print or not included on box sets and stuff, but really good. Especially when you have no idea where the fuck this is heading and why they're just destroying the kitchen sink and the bed and all the burning all the books and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, sounds wild. Like, I think we still love his like mixed media style too, like using like analog or like, old VHS footage in his films and like such like a like fine art way almost.
Yeah, I remember in Funny Games when he rewinds the footage. That blew my mind when I first saw that.
I think that's probably when many people gave up on that film, but yeah, it was definitely just.
That was the first film I saw that in theaters when I was living in Austin, and that movie definitely like changed my life. Being like, oh wow, now I understand. Like, there's this whole new world of films that I need to start exploring.
So when you came up with the concept of the runner, am I right in thinking the first image you guys had was just of a pair of trainers? Was that right?
Sort of. More so, it's like we kept on talking about this woman running through the woods and she's covered in blood. We live in the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts, so we're blessed to be able to see a lot of wooded areas. And so the first image was, this idea of following this girl running through the woods.
The thing I was most impressed by is the way you guys have constructed the movie, because a lot of the music video / visual albums are just pretty much a series of music videos cut together. But the way you guys are blaring between the music videos, the narrative horror movie, and the documentary band footage was so impressive. Can you talk to me how you juggled all that together and came up with that format?
Well, it started with us essentially having a finished album. So the soundtrack came first. We had these songs and we were able to write the script around that. So I think those limitations really made us be creative. And then the narrative, just the more we started to work on it, the narrative portion of it was just started to become way more important. So we put a lot of our energy into expanding that.
I think initially there was this idea to create something that was a little more live stream-y or whatever, because that is what everyone was seeking at the time in the height of that part of the pandemic, which was a form of media we wouldn't really be able. We were having trouble figuring out how to do that. So the behind the music type of scenes that exist in the runner now came out of this idea, like, oh, that will fulfill like the live stream needs.
And it's credited as a Boy Harsher movie. I was wondering, do you guys have assigned roles or strengths you both separated off into, or was it everything together in terms of technical working with the actors and things like that?
I mean, we definitely fight about our roles. I'd say we both do it all, and then that makes things it makes things better, but it also makes things complex. Is that a fair way to say?
Yeah. I mean, we sort of split things off a little bit. You were going to do more performance stuff. I was going to be doing more shot design stuff.
Right. I worked with the actors more and you worked with our DP more. And I did more of the like actual producing on the ground, and then Gus did most of the post-production. So when I was like location scouting or casting, then it would be kind of mirrored in the end where Gus was spending hours just on the computer cutting this together.
And were there films or music videos you were looking at for inspiration along the way? Yeah,
the movie we kept just like referencing to everyone was Blood Simple. Like, we just thought that was such a, I mean, it's obviously way higher production than what we were doing, but I think as a reference, it is like a really efficient film. It's a very simple film. And we were just trying to like see what techniques they were using in that to make such like a dynamic picture.
We recently rewatched it way before we knew we were going to make this film. And I think it's remarkable because there's so little dialogue in the actual movie when you watch it. I mean, there's definitely great dialogue. Like, we were interested in watching something that could be put together so simply and be so effective.
And any music videos you were watching? You have really great music videos cut into your film.
Yeah, so the Jonathan Demme directed New Order video, The Perfect Kiss.
Oh, I can't remember that one.
You wouldn't, because it seems just like a studio. I think most people have seen it. If you YouTube The Perfect Kiss, there's this very simple sort of in-studio performance of The Perfect Kiss official music video. I was just like upset not knowing it was directed by Jonathan Demme, and just like kind of always using it as a reference as just like this perfect little performance video. But then when I started to dig, I found out it was directed by Jonathan Demme, and then I'm forgetting his name, but the cinematographer from Wings of Desire and like Beauty and the Beast, like that, like.
Oh, Robbie Muller?
No, it's that like French.
When this guy before that, right?
Yeah, like older guy. He did like the 50s Beauty and the Beast, like The Master of Light. Like those two came to England and shot this music video.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I'm so was definitely obsessed with that and used that.
It's such a simple music video too. That's like maybe that's why you can't remember it. It's kind of unremarkable.
So did you guys map out treatments for each of the separate videos and then merge that with the narrative, horror, and the documentary footage, or did it all come about together? I was just curious on your process.
It was one screenplay. We wrote the screenplay as a whole. But then for production purposes, we split it into two screenplays, and it tackled one at a time.
Two different separate productions even.
Yeah. But yeah, it was always just supposed to run as one fluid story.
I think we learned definitely some lessons on the quote unquote documentary side of it. I mean, that part was the hardest for me. I'm incredibly uncomfortable on camera. And so having the script, maybe next time we do it, if we ever do anything like that again, it will be better to be a little more aware of the camera. And like, I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like maybe as they do in reality shows, I guess they just give you a scenario and then they say, roll with it, you know? Maybe we'll do that for our reality television show.
Keeping Up with the Harshes?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I'd so watch that. That'd be great. Like, Purient pops round for like a afternoon hang or something. That would be fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely would have a lot of fun with like our friends. That would be great.
One of the things I really loved watching it, and especially on repeat viewings, is all the details and set design are so on point and kind of all feed into that boy harsher universe that you kind of pick up on from listening to your music so much, like the motels, the bars, the analog TVs and stuff. I think I remember seeing you guys on Instagram occasionally having weird requests for very specific items. So I'm guessing you guys were really detailed and anal in piecing all this together.
Yeah, and I am totally guilty of doing the like Instagram asks often, but seeking in terms of locations, we knew that the one thing that would make it really successful, because we didn't really have a big budget at all. Like we didn't have a huge art department that could like build sets. So we just wanted to find the perfect set that we could mold a small amount to be what we needed. And so we spent so much time going around Massachusetts and upstate New York and Vermont looking for the teenager's house. That's where Cooper Handy is watching television and Chris comes in and scares him. And that was actually finding that. We were about to give up and like having to maybe rewrite and reconceive of that location. But maybe a week before we were supposed to start shooting, I randomly called this guy He was like a very silly old guy, and his house was on the market. And he was like, yeah, you guys can shoot there, but will you we had to move some big pieces of metal or something off the property for him. And the house ended up being perfect. Like all the furniture was in there and everything. And same thing with the bars. We made this radius so we live outside of Northampton, Massachusetts, and we made a radius around that for looking at every dive bar. So we went and looked at everything in the Berkshires and everything below us along the Connecticut border and then into Central Mass. And we ended up finding the Shutesbury Athletic Club, which is the bar location. And that place is so ridiculous and so funny. We've actually now casually become members, and we go and drink and play pool there.
That's for the Give Me a Reason section, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that bar looks incredible. That looks totally like something out of Fire Walk with Me or something.
Yeah, it's amazing. In the winter, they have this wood stove, and then in the summer out back, they have that gazebo where they have country music.
That lighting was so incredible in that section where she's going from the deep reds to the blue as she's walking around the table. That looks so good.
Yeah, that's all our DP, Dan DeBray. We had a really small crew, but he was able to do some pretty amazing things.
He was really into the idea of, right, is that in The Color of Money, where it's just the fluorescent tubes over the tables? And so this idea of this bright white in the center of a room, and then kind of having very atmospheric, stylish colors hitting her as she's walking around the room.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you land on Christina for the lead role?
This has been in the works for a long time. When we went on tour with Nightcrawler, Chris's other solo project, we were sort of talking about, just for fun, what making a horror film would be like. So then when we had the idea of making The Runner, Jay just sort of picked Chris immediately, and then we started writing the character for her. And then, yeah, it just sort of all fell together really perfectly.
And had she acted before?
Not really. I mean, she acted in one of our music videos for Motion, but I don't think she's had a lot of sort of narrative work.
Yeah, I think we're calling this, and she's calling this, her breakout role.
And it was great seeing James Duvall. He kind of matches perfectly in your world with this film. I'm guessing you guys are big Iraqi fans as well.
Yeah, I actually watched Iraqi for the first time in 2020.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
On VHS, that's where I started with it. But it was, definitely a huge revelation for me.
I mean, yeah, Mysterious Skin is one of my all-time favorite films. But the James connection is, I think that's this funny example of being really lucky and not, I don't know, he was just a fan or a follower on Twitter. Augustus is a Twitter, so I don't really understand how it works. And so I was like, why don't you just message him and see if he wants to be in this music video? And he responded right away, super enthusiastically. He's basically the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, you kind of get that vibe from his performances that he's a really sweet, earnest person. It kind of comes through.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on. I mean, he came to set for an hour or something. We shot out those scenes really quickly, and he just crushed the character so fast and just added such a good little element to that part. And you'll see an extended version of that. We're releasing a video for Machina proper, and it's sort of an extended version of that scene. And he's got some good camera time on that as well.
Something I keep on noticing more and more with cinema as it gets more corporate and, things like the Marvel universe and stuff is I've got this line that I say about people with high definition faces that I miss from films. When Robert Rodriguez was filming Danny Trejo, he had this new camera and said, Danny Trejo has a high definition face and I need this 4K camera to capture it. And so I just took that line. So anytime I see people Sissy Spacek or Shelley Duvall or like Harry Dean Stanton. I was like, these people have high definition faces, and you guys had so many beautiful and unique faces in your film in the general casting, like Christina and Sigrid, Mariana. What was your approach for casting and picking out all these really interesting, unique people?
There was this period of time where I really wanted to go into casting because I think I do look at people in a similar way. I've never actually regarded it that way, but you see a face and you're like, wow, that's a face. I want to like put that in something, you know? Yeah. And so especially with the women, the female leads, I mean, Mariana Saldana is so beautiful, but we always knew she would be in it, right? Because she is actually the woman singing in Machina. But with Sigrid, we had performed with her once. She's like in this really amazing performance art group called Fluct, and they are wild, and it's like very movement based and very physical. But she just has this like incredibly emotive face. And we had no idea if she'd be able to act or if she'd be interested in it. And so when we asked her, it was a little surprising to discover that she was so good, right? Like, I think she just has a perfect chemistry with Chris, and on camera, she just looks good. It's fun to watch her face.
Jay's got a really great talent to recognize non-actors who will be great on camera. Like, it's like a sixth sense or something.
I do love non-actors. That's one thing we did a lot in Savannah.
So she would just like throw someone's name out there and we talk about it, and I would just trust her gut that it would work out. So it's not like, I mean, there's no dialogue, so we didn't really read anybody, but we just sort of cast everyone based off knowing them.
Based off that face, yeah. I mean, the bar scene probably is the most fun example of that, because all of the backgrounds, for the most part, are friends who, like Renee Nunez, who is the neck brace
guy with a
man.
neck brace. Oh yeah, yeah. That guy's instantly funny. When you see him playing pool, you're like, yeah, there's a story there as to why he got his neck snapped or something. Like,
yeah, and he's also just so funny, and he's a great example of like, I love like looking at his face. I want to just keep looking at him. And RJ Supa is in the back, just chain smoking at the gambling machine.
That guy's got a great face. He kind of looks like someone from Twin Peaks.
Yeah. And he just was so natural. Like, I mean, obviously he's just playing the gambling machine, but maybe I can spot people because I'm the complete opposite. As soon as I'm aware of a camera, I get really jumpy and uncomfortable. But the bartender is actually the owner of the RV that Sigrid lives in. And we were like, wow, Cliff, you look great. You want to be the bartender? And then the cowboy hat man is actually the country music guy who performs at the Shutesbury Athletic Club all the time. And so he's just kind of this funny character who were like, you want to be in this movie we're making? I feel like many people are like, what is this? Right? Like cowboy hat guy and Zach, they're all like, what are you guys doing?
And you can't forget Aaron Ricks, who played Big Eyes.
The best.
Yeah, they really just brought so much more to that scene that we were missing, and they just sort of figured it out on set. It's important to shout out all these people because it's like, yeah, we were working with so little, so just everyone brought so much into making this thing what it is, because we couldn't foresee all these little elements.
Yeah, you really forget. I mean, that's the joy of writing, right? Where you get to like create your own controlled world on paper, but then when you're actually producing it, you forget how much there is. Like, there's so many loose ends, and we were incredibly lucky to have all these people just coming and like tying up the ends themselves, you know, instead of us being like, oh my God, you have to like look like this or do this. Like, everyone came and like brought what they wanted their character to be. And really just, that was one of the most fun days I think we had, was the bar day.
How many days were you shooting for? How long was the shoot?
That section, which the narrative section, was 4 days. And then
with 2 pickups.
Right. We had to come back and do 2 pickup days. And then the studio was 1 day.
Wow. So altogether, like a week ish.
Exactly. A week divided among several months, which was like kind of a wild ride because at that point, the pickup days could have been very challenging. Like we had to beg Chris to not cut her hair, and Cooper, I don't know if you noticed, but in the truck, like in the fields with the dirt bike, his hair is much longer because like the kid's hair grows super fast, I guess. But yeah.
I mean, every day we had to cut shots. I mean, we were just like using every single minute of every single day to try to get the coverage we needed.
And we shot on 16, so that was deeply challenging in certain regards too, because we had to be super aware of what was actually, we couldn't waste any film.
Yeah, I remember that from film school. It was so terrifying. The second we start shooting, like, nobody fuck anything up. This is so fucking expensive. Please just nail it, and then just hope it comes out when you get it developed, because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing either.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my number one fear. But again, incredibly lucky that Dan DeBray and his team like did know what they were doing. But in film school, yeah, like the first 2 years had to be all 16 or something nutty, and constantly I was like, oh, like this is completely underexposed. Like just you're a mess, and you're paying like so much money to prove that you're a mess.
Yeah, the production people hated me because I was such a dick. I'd be like, hi, I've just seen Pi, and now I want to shoot on like ultra grainy black and white stock. Can you accommodate that? And then come back like, I've just seen Buffalo 66. Can we like skip the acid process when you develop my stock so I have a different texture? And they're like, no, fuck off. You're just going to get this standard stock just like everyone else got, and like we're not going to outsource like an extra batch of Kodak monochrome just for your dumb 5-minute film. But you've got to ask.
I mean, Buffalo 66 is funny because I went to this like state run again with the state schools like film camp for like young precocious idiots. And one of the teachers, so that is the first time I saw Buffalo 66. And I remember having the exact same feeling, like, I want everything I make to look like this. And she is actually in the film. I don't know. Yeah, she's the bartender at the end. It's like a bit role, but it's like when he goes into the club, like that immaculate scene, right? With the stills.
Oh, is she the one who like points to...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Jen Dennis taught me to love 16 millimeter. Showed me that film.
Yeah, I think he had to get Kodak to make a batch of that exclusively for him. I think now it's become, it's came back that it's a standard, but they had to negotiate to get that type of bleach bypass specifically for that.
Wow.
I think he saw like he bought them in a old American football game that was shot in the 70s, and he was like, I want it to look like this. And so
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about the end song and titles and end credit sequence with Cooper singing Autonomy. Firstly, I think that track was incredible and I found it moving. I don't know what got to me. I think it was how earnest and sincere Cooper is singing directly to camera. You don't see that very often. And I really enjoyed seeing everyone's face at the end over the end credits. It just really got me.
Yeah, that's sort of a last minute idea right before shooting. Because we were trying to fit all these songs in. So we needed a spot to fit Autonomy in. And then just picturing that, it just was like sort of this light bulb went off. Just let's do like, I keep calling it like a Farley Brothers credit sequence. like something about Mary, just like some bad thing like that. But something about like that end is so like heavy, and there's just, it kind of makes that song even more like, I don't know, ecstatic to have it at the end of that. So it was just sort of this last minute idea, and we threw it together, and we're really excited how it turned out.
Yeah, I think when you have these like joyous experiences with like cast, you want to just have their one last moment where they're being goofy, or I don't know. We just watched Licorice Pizza, and they spoiler alert do that in the credits too. And I was like, oh man, they beat us to it this time.
Yeah, I think it was great seeing, obviously everyone's got these really intense roles, and then just seeing them humanized and just like natural, fun people was a really sweet touch. And Cooper singing directly to camera is so cool. All his hand gestures and like staring down the camera, that was a really great performance that you don't really see these days.
He's an amazing performer. Like, hopefully, you'll have the opportunity to see him live soon, someday. But he's just an amazing live performer too.
And that track is so good. That's like, it kind of gives me Depeche Mode 101 vibes or something.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs on the album. It was really fun to make. I feel like it's a little bit divisive, but I'm hoping when the album comes out, people will get behind it.
Yeah, how was it for you guys having extra vocalists?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was what needed. This is like a COVID album. We're writing this in like the hardest time to be creative, at least the music part of it. So we needed these assignments. So reaching out to another vocalist kind of gave us some structure.
Yeah, it was good to work with others, I guess.
And what's next for you guys? Any plans for more films or expanding into a feature or another album?
Well, we are on a little bit of a road trip right now. I don't know if I'm really supposed to say that, but yeah, we're in a trailer park in Florida right now working on a new screenplay as we speak.
We wanted to go somewhere warm, but like away from people, because obviously things are pretty scary. So we're in this like warm but remote zone, and we're trying to expand elements of the runner into a feature.
Sick.
I'm also very weirdly excited now about writing more music too. I think it's partially because the runner is just really, to me, a soundtrack. And so I'm also looking forward to diving back into like the Boy Harsher mainstays, getting ready for, doing some depraved dance music.
Well, that's a great line to end on. Cool. I'm going to let you guys go. This has been really fun.
Yeah,
Great
thank you so much. Yeah.
And I'll say hi to you guys at the screening.
Please do. We'd love to riff about some movies some more.
Boom. There you go. Boy Harsher. Great chat. I highly recommend you check out their music. They're one of my favorite bands. Although I will say, please do not listen to anything Gus has said about Manhunter being a ridiculous film or unrealistic. As you all know, Michael Mann is known for his realism. Do definitely check out their film, The Runner. I know it's showing on Shudder, the horror streaming platform in the US and the UK. Head over to their website for more information. Thank you to my engineer, Ewan Hinselwood. Thank you to Joshua Eustace, aka Telephone Tel Aviv, for my beautiful music. Okay, let's sign off with a song. This is Give Me a Reason by Boy Harsher from their new record and soundtrack, The Runner. Deeper into movies. Thanks for listening.